Let us go to the next line. What does the archer in the line, the archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite refer to? Who does archer in the line, the archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite refer to? Yeah, already you got the answer. Archer refers to the Creator. Archer refers to that force which has brought our children onto this earth. Archer is that force which is greater than ourselves. So, the archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite. Why does the archer see the mark upon the path of infinite? Got the answer already? Because he only knows, the archer only knows, the Creator only knows, God only knows, nature only knows where the arrows should reach. And we need not have any fear about this, because the prophet says the archer will see that the arrows will go swift, very fast, quick and far. So if you leave them in the hands of the Creator or God, then God will not disappoint you. He will neither disappoint you nor your children. Certainly He will do justice for both. Go to the next line. Here is one more point. His arrows may go swift and far. Identify the symbol used here. Symbolism is another poetic device used by the poets. Symbolisms. In symbolisms, when a writer uses symbolisms, an object or a person or a situation has another meaning other than its literal meaning. Literal meaning will be something. When I say arrows, the literal meaning is something, but here in this context it means something else. So when you use certain words in a sentence, though it literally means something, but actually it means something else, we call such words as symbols. And the symbolism has done, it's a wonderful thing in poetry. Poets use roses as a symbol for love, the word darkness as a symbol for death, the word light as a symbol for opportunity, like that and like that. So here that symbol used by the poet is arrows. Go to the next line, or before we go to the next line, let us have a quick look at the previous line. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Identify the word used in this poem to suggest the stress the parents undergo in the act of bringing up their children. The act of bringing up children has become very, very challenging these days. Many seminars are being conducted. So many learned persons are being consulted to get their advice or suggestions about bringing up their children. Here the prophet has given certain message through this poem on children. Dear students, can you notice one particular word in this poem which indicates the stress the parents have to undergo? in the act of bringing up their children. ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆತ್ತವರಿಗಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅದು ಏನು ಎನ್ನುವುದನ್ನು, ಅದು ಹೇಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಎನ್ನುವುದನ್ನು ಕವಿ ಈ ಕವಿತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಲು ಬಳಸಿದ ಶಬ್ದ ಯಾವುದು, ವರ್ಡ್ ಯಾವುದು? ವಿಚ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್? I repeat that line just now I read, and in that line itself that word is found. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Yeah, now I hope you have got the answer. Bending is the word. Bending is the word. Baguvike is the word which is used to suggest the stress the parents undergo in the act of bringing up their children. But the prophet says, how should the parents receive this stress? How the parents should receive this stress? He says that the parents should receive this stress for gladness. Wonderful thing. When you suffer for the sake of somebody whom you love very much, then how do you feel that suffering? Have you ever felt that it as a suffering? You are ready to suffer and you never murmur or complain for that suffering. Why is it like that? Because you love that person, you like that person so much. Your mother or your father or your brother or sister wants you to get some work to be done, and you do it willingly, and you may even if you may have to undergo a lot of stress or trouble, you never complain about that. And if you complain, that it means that you never love the person for whom you are doing that work. But the parents, they always love their children. Therefore, they never feel that stress they have to undergo in the act of bringing up their children as a burden, but instead they take it for gladness. They consider it as gladness. Why should the parents face the bending gladly is a question there. And the answer is in the previous line. I read that line for you. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. If you want the arrows to go swift and far, very quick and far, then the bow should be bent properly. The bow should be bent properly. So if you bend properly, then the arrow will go swift and far. And also, if the bows are bent properly, then the God will love the bow and also the arrow, which is given in the last line of this poem. For even the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. That's the last line. The answer is there. This line contains the answer for the previous question. Why should the parents face the bending gladly? Why shouldn't the parents murmur or complain or grumble for the stress they have to undergo in the act of bringing up their children? Because God loves, the Creator loves both the parents and the children. But the metaphorical expression, for parents the word bow is used, and for children the word arrow is used. For even the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. The children are compared to the living arrows, and their function, their duty is to fly, not to remain stable or idle. Children must read, children must study properly, children must cultivate good habits. You should not remain idle, but the parents, they have other role to play. They have to remain stable. What does the word stable mean here? Stable means firm. The parents must be firm in their role as parents. It is not, it is called responsible parenting. We love our children doesn't mean that we have to give them anything and everything what they demand. Sometimes the parents have to be very firm to the demands of their children. By doing so, though it appears like, the parents are very, very harsh, actually they are doing something good for the sake of their children. Here, the parents, we call it the bow that must be stable, bend properly, and act like a launching pad to help their children reach a larger distance, to cover a larger distance in their life, in reaching their goal. So comment on the contrasting words used here. Another poetic device, using contrasting words. Already we have seen in the beginning of this poem, your children are not your children. Again the contrasting words are used in the last line. Another interesting thing to be noticed, in the beginning the poet uses two contrasting words, your children are not your children, two contrasting ideas rather. And again in the last line of this poem he uses two contrasting words. Which are the two contrasting words used here? Dear students, please identify those contrasting words. Yes, the answer is flies and stable. What flies? The arrow flies. What does it mean? Children must move forward, march forward. Swami Vivekananda has also said like that, you have to march forward. Face the challenges boldly. The world is for them who will march forward. Those who march forward will only reach the destination soon. Here also the prophet uses the same idea. The children are the living arrows who fly to reach their destination swift and far. And the parents must be firm, that is stable. These are the two contrasting words. Dear students, here the poem ends on children. Before we conclude, let us have a quick look at a couple of words used in this poem which are better to be discussed under pronunciation. BOSOM in the beginning of this poem, as an introductory remark, it is given, and a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, speak to us of children. BOSOM, pronounced as bosom. Another word may appear very silly, WOMAN, but I have come across many students who pronounce this word and make mistakes. MAN, of course, it's man, but WOMAN, it's not woman, it must be woman. children, again a very commonly used and found word, but mispronounced many a times. People say children. It's not children, not R-U-N, it is R-E-N, so must be pronounced as children. Another word, B-O-W-S, it's not bows, must be bows. So these are certain words for sake of learning proper pronunciation. Dear students, before we conclude this session, let us have a quick look at the Kannada translation of this poem by Dr. Prabhu Shankara. You will get a better idea by going through the Kannada translation. Here we go, the Kannada translation of the poem Children by Dr. Prabhu Shankara. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲ, ಜೀವದ ಸ್ವಪ್ರೇಮದ ಪುತ್ರ ಪುತ್ರಿಯರು ಅವರು. ಅವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೂಲಕ ಬಂದಿವೆಯೇ ಹೊರತು ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಅವು ಇರುವುದಾದರೂ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೇರಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ನೀವು ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀಡಬಹುದು, ಆದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳನ್ನಲ್ಲ. ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರದೇ ಸ್ವಂತ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳುಂಟು. ಅವರ ದೇಹಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಮನೆಯಾಗಿರಬಹುದೇ ಹೊರತು ಅವರ ಆತ್ಮಗಳಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಅವರ ಆತ್ಮಗಳು ನಾಳೆಯ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸುತ್ತವೆ. ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಕನಸಿನಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಹೋಗಲಾರಿರೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅವರಂತಿರಲು ನೀವು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸಬಹುದು, ಆದರೆ ಅವರನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮಂತೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸದಿರಿ. ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಜೀವ ಹಿಮ್ಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಹರಿಯುವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಿನ್ನೆ ಜೊತೆ ತಂಗುವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಜೀವಂತ ಬಾಣಗಳಂತೆ ಚಿಮ್ಮಲು ಇರುವ ಬಿಲ್ಲುಗಳು ನೀವು. ಅನಂತದ ಪಥದ ಮೇಲೆ ತನ್ನ ಗುರಿಯನ್ನು ಬಿಲ್ಗಾರ ಗಮನಿಸುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಬಾಗಿಸುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನ ಬಾಣಗಳು ವೇಗವಾಗಿ ಬಹುದೂರ ಹೋಗುವಂತೆ. ಆ ಬಿಲ್ಗಾರನ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಾಗುವಿಕೆ ಸಂತಸಮಯವಾಗಿರಲಿ. ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಹಾರುವ ಅಂಬನ್ನು ಅವನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸಿದಂತೆಯೇ ದೃಢವಾದ ಬಿಲ್ಲನ್ನೂ ಆತ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಬೈ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಭು ಶಂಕರ. Dear students, once again a quick look at the poem On Children by Khalil Gibran. On Children by Khalil Gibran. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls live in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. Dear students, that's all about the poem On Children by Khalil Gibran. I request all our children to go through this poem and try to answer the questions found in the comprehension of your text. That brings the course book for 2nd PU in English. Dear students, thank you very much for watching this video. Stay home and be safe.